Hey, what's good, champions? Arian, Tyson here. Just wanted to shoot a video to talk about how to stop overreacting with people. And this is something that's really prevalent to me because of a situation that I dealt with recently. And it basically took everything in me not to go there or give that person a piece of my mind. And here's why. And I'm going to share with you some things that's going to be of value to you. Now, over the last several years, there's a way that I have gradually been cultivating in myself. I've been taming my tendency to give people a piece of my mind, or taming my tendency to overreact and argue with everybody when their behavior doesn't, match my expectations. Now, as human beings, because remember, we're humans first, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. We all have an idea in our heads about how things are supposed to be. And sadly, this is what often messes up our friendships, our connections, our relationships the most. We all get frustrated when things don't play out the way we expect them to, and people don't behave like they're supposed to. We expect our acquaintances, our friends, our spouses, our children to act a certain way, our friends to always agree with us, strangers to be less difficult, and so on and so forth. And then when reality hits us, everyone seems to be doing the antithesis of what we want them to do. And since we overreact, frustration, stress, arguments, tears, etc. But the question is, what can we do about this? First of all, we need to breathe. We need to breathe. And I want to share with you some things that you can do to. The overreacting is not going to go away 100%, but you could tame it down a little bit. You could bring it down a notch. You could bring it down a taste. So let me share with you some things that I'm learning to do, because since, like you, I'm human. I'm only human. Others people chaotic behavior still can get an emotional rise out of me sometimes. And I believe in being transparent. One of those situations happened Friday. So I've implemented a strategy to help me, and I'm going to share it with you. Now, in a nutshell, I have to proactively remind myself to take a deep breath when I need one, use discernment, and practice what I teach. And notice I didn't say practice what I preach, because truth be told, I hate being called a preacher. I always have. It's always made my skin crawl. Anytime I catch myself doing the opposite, I pause and I remind myself of the things that I've learned along the way. Number one, I'm going to share with you 3 of them. Number one, I remember that inner peace and harmony begins the moment you take a deep breath and choose not to allow another person or event to control your thoughts and emotions. And that's important. That's important to understand, because sometimes people do things just to get a rise out of you. And it's very important to be cognizant of that, especially when you've already had a prior instance or a prior issue dealing with that circumstance, and it got a rise out of you, and you've already forewarned them. But also remember that everyone has a breaking point. Everyone has a breaking point. And when you get to a point where you say enough is enough, and they have not heeded your warnings and heeded the fact that they basically need to get off this subject, move on to another subject, or don't address that particular topic, then to me, you have the license to check them, because it's not a one-time thing that happened. It's something that keeps happening repeatedly, and they're not using discernment. They're not heeding. They're not taking discretion. Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. But also, so I gave you the first one. The second thing is to remember is that a moment of silence and anger can save you from 100 moments of regret. Truth be told, you are often most powerful and influential in an argument when you are most silent. That's why normally I like to sit back and observe. I like to let people get their stuff out, and then I can choose whether or not I respond or not. Others never expect silence. They expect yelling, drama, defensiveness, offensiveness, and a lot of back and forth. What I've learned is even when your situation, even when your frustration is justified, sometimes something needs to be said. Don't be hateful. Keep your heart and mind wide open, for peace is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of love. Be mindful and communicate accordingly. Some things are better left not said in the moment. And then finally, realize that it's much easier to overreact and judge people than it is to understand them. Understanding takes extra kindness and patience. And this extra is what love is really all about. Love is living your life, but sharing it. It's forgiveness, it's patience, it's optimism. And sometimes it's a hug or a smile when there's nothing left to say. Keep doing your best not to overthink life's little frustrations and disagreements, because answers come to a relaxed mind. Space allow things to fall into place, and a good attitude yields the best results in the end. For it has been said repeatedly that your attitude determines your altitude. The question is, how's your attitude looking? Because it's really how you handle stuff, the presentation, and how stuff is presented to you. It matters. And I'll probably do a video explaining how it matters. But I wanted to share that with you today. And I hope that it was of value to you. If it was, leave me a comment. Feel free to share this video. Remember, in life, you have two choices. You can make moves or you can make excuses, but you most certainly cannot do both. Do not give people that are not worth the energy any more time to overreact and argue with them, especially when you already forewarned them they need to get on with their business. It's yours truly, Arian Tyson, the Moving Motivator, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace.